So when you do a put option, let's say United Airlines, which was one of the airlines that crashed on 9/11. Let's say you buy a put option to sell the stock at $30, right? You put a put option to sell it at $30, right? And you have a contract up to a certain amount of time to buy it to sell it at $30. So you bought a contract to say I can sell, let's say 100 shares of United Airlines at $30. I have an option to sell it at that price, and the goal is, if you buy an option to sell at a certain price, you hope that the stock drops, because if the stock drops to $20 or $10, now you can go in and you can buy the stock at the market price at 10, and your contract says you can sell a certain amount of stock at 30, so you'll make a profit. So when you buy a put option, you hope that the price drops. So someone shorted or bought a bunch of options for United Airlines and American Airlines, if I'm not mistaken. They bought a bunch of contracts that were worth millions of dollars prior to 9/11. I believe on September 7th, 2001, they bought a gang of put options on these airlines. And of course, what happened after 9/11? Airline stocks plummeted damn near to nothing because nobody wanted to fly. And somebody sold these options and made millions of dollars. That was a weird thing. It was true, not a conspiracy. We don't know who did it. No one ever talked about who did it. And it's one of those things about 9/11 that was not referenced in the 9/11 Commission report, wasn't really referenced that much on mainstream media, right? These are just things that are like, I can't stop wondering what that is. And when you know it's true, it's hard to just let it go. But
it's not a guess. This is publicly available information. Now, the FBI found out the identity of the person or institution that shorted these events on 9/11 and made a huge amount of money by doing that, but never released that information. So why can't we know who clearly had foreknowledge? I mean, if you're shorting American Airlines a week before 9/11, when no one knows it's coming, I think you should have to explain why you did that. And if you're shorting Barclays and banks that were affected by 9/11, why can't we know who you are? These are public markets, by the way. This is not private equity. This is publicly traded equities. So I wonder about that. So clearly, yes, there was foreknowledge. By the way, there was a team, this is according to the FBI, by the way, this is the FBI saying, there was a team of clearly intel-connected foreigners who were arrested after 9/11, as you well know, videotaping the terror attacks. I'm almost verbatim quoting from the FBI assessment of this. And the FBI determined that they apparently had foreknowledge of the attacks. So,
all right, let's stop that again. It's another one. I mean, this is another one that if you're in the know and you were studying this stuff, this is not new. This is 20 years old. Yes, there was a group of Israelis who were in Jersey City filming the towers the day of the attack. And from what I understand, they were arrested because they were found to be filming. They were found to be celebrating when the towers were hit. They got arrested, like Tucker said, and I don't know what happened with them. I don't know if they went back to Israel. I don't know what happened with that, but it was a fact. They were on one of the rooftops in Jersey City, filming and dancing when this stuff happened. And it's another weird thing about 9/11 that, again, wasn't mentioned in the commission report. So let it keep going.
Why can't we know more about that? Exactly. Shut up. That's bigoted. No, this is my country. Actually, I know people who died on 9/11. Everything was changed because of it. I promptly went off to the Middle East, just like everyone else in our business. I'm sure you did as well. And then we lost our civil liberties at home. We immediately started torturing people and locking up people for years. They are still locked up in Guantanamo Bay with no charges at all. And the rest of us, very much me included, nodded our heads and like, yeah, they're bad. They're Muslim terrorists. Now, I think a lot of them were bad, and they were Muslim terrorists. On the other hand, if your government is allowed to torture people and lock them up indefinitely without charging them, how long before they do that to you? We don't do that here. And I know it's very common in the UK now, which is an authoritarian country. We don't want that here. And 9/11 dramatically changed our assumptions about what the government is allowed to do. So, and by the way, I should say, the main beneficiary in the United States of those attacks was the CIA, which allowed them to happen. So the CIA budget became, more than doubled. Of course, we're not allowed to know what the CIA budget is, even in government.
The official story on 9/11 is a complete lie. The 9/11 report is a joke.
You have the CIA following two men all over the planet, and then eventually even to America, right? And you don't tell the FBI. 9/11 Commission cover up.
So what did happen? What did the government know? What did foreign governments know? There was a cover-up. Why? It's been nearly 25 years. It is time Americans learned what actually happened. We're going to tell you. We're releasing one episode per week. You're not going to want to wait. If you're a member, you don't have to. You get all 5 episodes the day it drops, right then, ad-free. Our first episode.
So, this is going to be interesting. Now, the things that Tucker Carlson are bringing up again are not anything new. They're not new. I don't even think they're controversial, right? I think that the thing that makes it really interesting is that he has a big name. He's from mainstream media, and he's literally bringing up the same questions and concerns that a lot of these documentaries that came out 20 years ago did. But again, they were not part of mainstream media. Most people just didn't want to even deal with it. The country was going through a lot in the years after 9/11. The Afghanistan, Iraq, gas prices. And then, like I said, not too long after that, we had the financial collapse. And once the housing market collapsed and the financial collapse came, I think that's kind of the years, in my opinion, that the 9/11 truth started to fade away, because it just wasn't a main thing that people were thinking about. So people move on in time. But the fact that Tucker Carlson is really digging into this, listen, I would say that it's a dangerous world. And I hope that Tucker Carlson, he definitely needs to take care and watch his back. But again, I'm not wishing nothing bad. I hope everything's good with him. Hope nothing happens to him or nothing happens to anybody. But this is dangerous because I think you start to dig into some new stuff. And I think it's healthy, though, because I do think that after all these years, I think people are going to be able to take a look at 9/11 and some of these discrepancies, right? And look at them with the new, fresh eye and ear, right?